Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, Rich Slavinsky is going to be with us talking about consultants in the workplace. He always has some interesting observations about what's going on in the workplace for consultants. Usually carries over quite a bit to non-consultants too. So you'll want to definitely stay and listen to that. Lately, we've been spending 10, 15 seconds being grateful. You can't be unhappy when you're grateful. So think of three things that you're grateful for today. Go. Three things that you're grateful for. You got to be grateful. Being grateful is one of the most, well, being grateful and being grateful to be grateful is really wonderful. We've been speaking and going to continue to talk about today, this evening, uh, what we call the myths of hiring. Some of the things that hiring authorities and people in business tell themselves that aren't really true. They're myths. And you know you're dealing with somebody that lives in a myth when they say things that we've been discussing. And this is a myth. Hiring good people is one of our highest priorities. That's why it takes us 6 or 7 or 8 weeks or 9 weeks to get through the process because we don't want to make a mistake. Well, that's one of the first mistakes they make, is that it takes too darn long. And they think that because the longer it takes, the better the process is going to be. And that's just not true. If good candidates come along, the first candidate that you interview, then it behooves you to hire that candidate. The reason why people take so long in hiring, we've mentioned it on this program ad infinitum, is because people are scared of making a mistake. So they think, well, if it's just the first candidate, or if it's the second candidate, or if it's the 10th candidate, it can't be the best candidate because it's the first or the second or the 10th candidate. And it can be. So we don't want to make a mistake. But hiring people is our highest priority. So we're going to have 16 people involved in it, and we're going to take 6 or 7 weeks, and we're going to have this ridiculous process, and we're going to have it all just wrapped into one thing. And we know what we're doing because hiring is one of our highest priorities. Look, if you've hired for any length of time, say 5, 6 years, you know a good candidate when you see a good candidate. And if it's the first candidate or it's the 15th one, that's the best candidate you're going to find on the market. You hire it right then and there. You can hire a candidate within 2 or 3 days. It's not hard to do. If you're worried about making a mistake, you do thorough interviewing, thorough reference checking, and thorough investigating of the candidate, and then you hire them or you don't. If it's your highest priority, then you need to have your actions follow your words. But whenever I hear a client or even a potential client tell me that hiring is their highest priority, it's the first red flag that comes along because it worries me. Hiring is a high priority, but I want to hear what their process is. I mentioned on this program not too long ago, I had one organization that had a 16 interview process. Ridiculous. What are they going to know more about a candidate in 16 interviews than they know in 5 interviews? Nothing. You're not going to know. You don't know. You don't know until the candidate is hired and the candidate starts performing. That's the risk you run in hiring. We've talked about the uh, alternatives to what you do when that happens, but if hiring is one of your highest priorities, act like it. But it can be done in a very short period of time, as long as the process is thorough. Now, do you hire on the first interview? Some people do, and some people have been very successful at it. I know lots of hiring managers that have been very successful at hiring on the first interview. They're also the kind of guys and gals that will get rid of a candidate that has been a hire if they turn out not to be a good hire. They can do that very quickly too. Their hiring process might be very quick. Their firing process might be very quick too. They don't want to make a mistake. Nobody wants to make a mistake, but when they come to the conclusion that they make a mistake, they deal with it very rapidly. But hiring should be one of our highest priorities. That's how you make a good company. That's how you get it going. And you should be interviewing all the time, whether you need people or not. You should be interviewing all the time. Whenever good candidates come along, interview them. I had one company one time, they interviewed a candidate of mine and hired him 7 years after they interviewed him. He was such a good candidate. They kept in touch with him. They knew a good candidate when they saw one, and they kept in touch with him. And when they really needed him, they called him up and went after him. But if hiring people is your highest priority, you need to make sure your actions follow your thoughts. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.